Hey y'all, it's Chimdi with a slightly different backdrop. I'm actually chilling on the couch right now. I have had it on my spirit to make this video and I was like, let me just go ahead and make it. Let me just get into it. Before we do, thank you Patreon people. And if you want to join my newsletter, I send it out about every week. It's called On My Spirit and I'm also a creative coach. So in this video, I want to share 2 different manifestation techniques that I've used and the results of them. And they've been really powerful for me in sort of processing the things that have been blocking me. And I want to share them in case they can be helpful for you. And I actually had a friend, hey unique girl, and she shared someone's manifestation video with me and it was like, it felt like another nudge for me to make this video. So I think whoever needs to hear this needs to hear this. So if you're watching this, this may be for you. 2 techniques. 1, the email technique, and 2, I'm going to call the calendar technique. The email technique is very straightforward. I think you can replace email with whatever method you believe your blessings will come through. And also realizing your attachment to blessings coming in a certain way, I think is also really helpful because I do believe that blessings can come from anywhere. I have a belief system that my blessings will primarily come via email. Like I'll be minding my business and then I'll check my email and it'll be a message from someone saying, hey, here's this cool opportunity. Would you want to be a part of it? And that's because I've had that happen a number of times. So I've been minding my business and then out of the blue, I've had it happen actually via text, via email, via Instagram DM. It comes wherever it needs to come in, listen, but I've kind of focused my mind on email. And I get truly, I'd say 1 to 2 emails, maybe like a day, like on my business email. So it's not like I'm being flooded with emails. I get a lot of like spammy style kind of sponsorship things, but very few legitimate emails. And so I thought, okay, Chimdi, if you are envisioning, you are manifesting these opportunities coming through your email, let's go ahead and, have an experience of that. Because I do believe, feeling is the secret. Having an experience in your body, an emotion in your spirit that says, oh, this thing is happening and this thing is real, is how you kind of connect to the vibration of it and allow it to become manifest in your life. So I was like, all right, I think my blessings are coming from email. We're going to do this little email role play. So what I did, having literally max maybe 3 unread emails at a time ever with my business account, I went to my business email. I just picked 5 emails at random and I marked them as unread. The way my phone is set up at the time, I actually have since changed it, but at the time, the way it was set up is that you wouldn't actually see who the emails were from. You wouldn't see any of the content. You would just look when you went to Gmail and see the number of unread messages. So I picked 5. And so then I go to my phone as if to do this role play and I look and I see that I have 5 unread emails. The way I had a visceral shock, panic, fight or flight response to seeing that many emails. Like I was surprised. I was like, whoa. And of course I know this is fake, but my body does not know the difference. And when it saw that many unread messages, immediate panic. So what's great about all of these manifestation techniques is that it really tells you something about why you aren't having the experiences that you want to have. Because if you were an energetic match for it, you'd have it. So if you aren't having it, there's clearly a reason why. And these techniques help you understand, okay, what's actually in my way. And so when I connected into my process around, oh my gosh, I'm having such a strong reaction to having all these unread messages, like what's going on? I realized for me, I still doubted my ability to set boundaries and to say no to things that weren't aligned. For a lot of my life, I've been reactionary to opportunities and just saying yes to things. And that's coming from a place of lack and scarcity and not thinking that there will be more and that there will be a second chance or a second opportunity or another job or whatever else. And so when someone says, hey, we'll give you $5 to do this thing, I'm just like, all right, we'll give you a lip gloss. I'm like, I love lip gloss. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying yes. And then later, as I'm doing the thing, I'm feeling this sense of resentment and I'm feeling this sense of self-betrayal because I know I didn't act in full alignment. And historically, I've also gotten to the point of burnout where I'm like deeply exhausted and really have no motivation. And it's because I very consistently kept saying yes to things that I wanted to say no to. And so seeing that many unread emails, it triggered this fear that I would end up through my success, recreating this process of burnout, recreating this process of dishonoring myself, recreating this process of betrayal. And I'd rather not have that kind of success and sort of be where I'm at than sort of be forced to confront the areas of my life where I'm still really developing that. So that was really helpful for me because I truly was just kind of la 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 la, just like, oh, any day now, any day now the email will come that will change my life. And then in actually doing this technique, I realized, oh, I see. There's a very, very good reason why I haven't been getting these opportunities. The second technique is the calendar technique. And this is my favorite one, mostly because the email one was very intense. All of it is as intense as you want to make it, listen. But the reason why I love the calendar one is because the results were so immediate, and it similarly taught me, oh, okay, there's still some things I need to work on. So the calendar technique is all about taking these very sort of lofty, ephemeral, ethereal hopes and dreams and wishes we have and making them concrete by putting them in your calendar. This is something I actually support my creative coaching clients with a lot, because a lot of the time we'll have creative dreams and kind of get overwhelmed by them because they're so nebulous and big. And so when we just break things down into smaller pieces, into the exact steps we need to do to make something a reality, it becomes manageable. It becomes bite-sized. You can actually digest the meal instead of choking on it. And so the calendar technique is to take certain things that you have as hopes and dreams and to actually put the details of what it would look like to realize that into your calendar. So for me, a lot of my sort of manifestations are focused on my social life, wanting to have this really rich, fulfilling social life here in Maryland, where I have like a bunch of really dope friends who I really love spending time with. I get to do a lot of cool creative things. I get to do, a lot of things in the community that I just really love. And I just have this life that's really full and exciting because I do spend a lot of my time chilling, just like chilling, sitting on my porch, staring at trees, which I love. And sometimes it's nice to see another human being. So the way I did it is I did the month of December, and I have a few different email addresses and some that I don't really use. And so I went to one of the Gmail calendars for an email address I don't really use because I don't want to be getting notifications for these things. But I also did it in December, so it's going to be a while before I even sort of see those notifications anyway. And I literally went week by week, day by day, and I just started putting things into the calendar that I wanted to experience. So I put like brunch, I literally like made up names, all of it. I was like brunch with so-and-so, dinner with so-and-so, drinks with so-and-so. I put in like dance class, cardio dance class here, yoga class here, breathwork class here. I put like, brunch with man, I put a man's name, then I put a little heart emoji. So this was like a romantic experience. Like I just filled my calendar with all these experiences. I don't currently have a manager. I put like meeting with my manager. I don't have any project right now that involves going to a production studio, but I put like production studio meeting, and I blocked off the time. So I just kind of went through every single day and I just sort of calendared it out. And the key thing to do when doing this exercise is to stay connected to your body and see what happens, see what shifts when you actually go to put, okay, holiday party on December 23rd, like New Year's Eve rooftop party from, 9 to 2, whatever. Like what actually happens in your body? Do you feel this flurry of excitement? Are you like, ooh, this is so cool? Or is there a bit of fear? Is there a bit of grief, of sadness as you go to put these things on your calendar? There were 3 things I want to comment on that happened as a result of me doing this exercise. The first thing is that I realized that my vision for my dream life is not so far from the reality of my actual life. And the process of putting these fake things into my calendar showed me like, girl, your actual life isn't this desolate landscape where you have no friends and you don't see anybody. Like you're going to go to this art walk with this person. You're going to go to this pool party with this person. You're going to go to brunch with this person. You're going to the fitness martial dance event on this day. Like your life actually is full. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's such a mindset shift to go from truly the lack scarcity mindset of I don't have enough things to do and people to hang out with to like, actually like I'm kind of booked. Like I'm actually booked this week. So what am I talking about? And then what's so helpful is also to see the difference between the experience of doing these things and having such a full life and then the sort of vision you have. Because I would have it, the way I first did it is I was like, okay, Saturday, I'm going to have like dinner on this day. And then the next day, Sunday morning, I'm going to have brunch. And then Monday, I'm going to have this class. Like I literally had to like back to back to back. But then in reality, I realized if I'm doing something on a day, especially if it's like a few hours, I'm not doing anything else the next day. I need the whole next day to sit quietly and integrate what just happened. I don't need to have another event planned. So now I know I thought I wanted this really full life. I don't. So I'm gonna do on a Sunday, nothing on a Monday. Something on a Tuesday, nothing on a Wednesday. And now I can actually know that and understand when I'm living my life and I have a really full weekend and then nothing planned for the week, that's not a bad thing for me. That's actually in alignment with how I like to spend my time. The second thing I want to say about this was how quickly the things that were in alignment manifested. So one of the things that I put on my calendar was like going to Broadway shows. In my calendar, I also had moving back to Brooklyn, and I realized like, oh, I actually really love it here in Maryland, and I do still have Brooklyn as this like fantasy vision, but more and more I'm actually really happy in Maryland. So it was interesting to see like, oh, there's some ways where what I think I want isn't quite what I want. But in this sort of New York vision I had, I was going to all these Broadway shows. So I was putting that into my calendar, like Broadway show, putting the 2-hour block. Literally within a week, I found myself going out to this event here in Maryland and picking up a flyer for a theater that was looking for volunteers. I haven't done any volunteer work since being here in Maryland. And I feel like in general, I've done some, but I'm not like a big volunteer person. You know what's so interesting? And I think this is tied to trauma. Whenever I volunteered, I've had this visceral sense of like, why am I not being paid for my labor? Like there was this visceral sense of like, I am working and not being paid. So that was something to heal. But I think what it comes down to is like when you give from a place of generosity versus from a place of lack and scarcity. Like if you already don't have enough and you're already giving more, that's going to be tough. But if you have so much to give is nothing, you're like, oh my gosh, yes, here you go. So I was like, oh, that would be kind of interesting to volunteer for this thing. And they were looking for volunteer ushers. And I was, thinking of my times. I've done like catering in the past, which I found like really fun. This was back when I was in college. And I really enjoyed catering. Like I thought it was so fun. I just loved like wearing all black, hanging out with people like behind the scenes, handing out food. Like it was just the chillest job ever. And I looked so good in black. I kind of held the flyer. I didn't really think much of it. And then, I was chatting to my sister about it. And she was like, oh yeah, that'd be really cool. And I mentioned the theater that they were looking for volunteers for. And she like had plans already to like go see a show there. And I was like, So I was like, you know what? Why not, right? So I just like go and I like enter my information. And they're like, oh, we don't have any orientation classes coming up. And I'm like, oh, well, move on with my life. And then a couple of days later, they're like, hey girl, we have some more orientation classes. These are the rules. We're going to have like these dope Broadway shows coming into town. Like, and you like, it's like mandatory, the minimum, you like have to work some of these shows. And I'm like, have to like, so the whole thing is that you volunteer as an usher and then you get to see these shows for free. I had no idea that this was a thing at all. And so I went from truly putting on my fictional visionary manifestation calendar Broadway shows to in real life putting like orientation like noon to 3 on my actual calendar and looking ahead and seeing like, oh, there are shows it's like a 6-month schedule. Like over the next 6 months, there's so many shows coming to this theater that I really want to see. And it's becoming my reality. That one happened so fast that it kind of blew me away a little bit where I was like, oh, this is real, huh? Like, ooh, all right. And then the third thing I want to mention about this technique. So when I realized, I know how y'all are with like manifestation stuff. There's a part of me that really does believe it. And there is another part of me that's like very skeptical and it's like, we'll see kind of thing, right? So once I realized like, oh, this is real, I was like, what else should I put on this calendar since this is real, right? And what things do I want to actually sort of manifest into my life for real? And which things that I just kind of put on there for fun? And so one of the things that I looked and saw was that I had a meeting with my manager, my fictional YouTube creative manager person. And when I connect to the energy of having this be real, like, oh, I actually do have a meeting with this manager, it was so helpful because it helped me understand a key reason why I don't consistently do the activities that are supportive of growing an online platform. When I look around at some of the artists and the creatives and the YouTubers that I really admire, who I feel like a kinship with, who are really funny to me, who are really entertaining to me, consistently, they have mental health problems and they're on antidepressants or anti-anxiety drugs, like consistently. To the point where it was like, oh, to be successful at a high level and to have the kind of life or even the kind of creative opportunities that I would like to have in my life, there is basically a 100% chance that my mental health would be impacted and it would be a problem. And I love my mental health. I love my mental health. I'm a big fan. I love, you know what I love? The fact that I'm not currently on drugs. One of my favorite things is that I'm not currently on any drugs, and I'd love to keep it that way. I worked so hard to not be, dampening the experience of being alive in my body in order to survive, So the fact that I've achieved, it feels like an achievement. The fact that I've achieved sobriety, and I do weep all the time, and I think that's normal. It's very controlled. It's called a process, okay? And I really like that, and I want to keep it. So the false dichotomy that I have in my head is, well, if you want to be successful, Chimdi, you're going to have to sacrifice your mental health. And because I'm like, I don't want to do that, I then don't do the things such as recording videos so that I actually have some in the queue, so I'm not editing them last minute to go live, just like little stuff like that, right? Like those are the kinds of things I would do if I was really committed to creating YouTube success, because I do feel like it is relatively straightforward. And I realized as long as I truly believe that it's not in my best interest ultimately to be successful in that way, I'm not going to do what I know I would need to do to make that happen. And so my invitation is to then do a process. And I haven't really done it yet. I've been putting it off / honoring the resistance, because I'm also not in a rush, but I've just been honoring the resistance I have to doing that process. And the best part about process work is that you literally just be with what is, and by being with it, it naturally transforms. So all I would need to do, and I'm not going to do it right now on camera, but all I would need to do would be to pause and then connect to the part of me that's saying, let's not do a process. Let's not do it. And then there's part of me that's like, okay. And then as soon as I say, okay, a part of me is like, no, but you have to do a process. It's like, do you? It's like, yeah, you have to. Because you have to heal all your trauma, and it's so important. So if you have something that's in the way of your success and bringing down all the light of the Lord, you have to do the process. And so then I can be like, okay, well, that's kind of intense. That's an intense energy. Why don't we pause and be with that intensity? And then I would just kind of keep layer by layer by layer by layer by layer. In my experience, it takes about 4 to 5 layers before I'm just full on sobbing. But then on the other side of it, I feel great. I feel so happy. I feel so free. And I know at the root, and I think that's the reason why I haven't done the process yet. That's usually the reason why I don't do processes, is because I just don't want to go through the really intense emotions. Because I know the root of this fear and this resistance is weeping, sobbing, overwhelm, sadness at the thought of being really successful externally, feeling so hopeless and abandoned and distraught internally, feeling like I don't have anyone I can call on, feeling like I made the wrong decision, feeling like this was all my fault, feeling like I brought all of this upon myself. I didn't have to do any of this. No one made me do all this. And then I did all this bad stuff. And then now my life is in shambles. I can tell that that's the core of it. And I'm just talking about it. But if I were to actually process and move through it, it would be the feeling of that and all of the emotion and all the sobbing. And I just don't feel like doing that right now. Not right now. Maybe later. I've been moving through a lot of stuff. Every day I've had a process, and I don't want to do it right now, but I'll get to it eventually. So yeah, I think if you do these different techniques and tactics, the key thing, like I said, is really to connect to the feelings that come up within you. And then if you have support and if you know your own sort of process, doing that emotional work to realize, okay, what is this block here, and let me actually be with it so that I can release it and let it go. And truly there is no rush. One thing I also realized is that the process really is the point, sometimes I'll do a process. I just ordered a new bag. It's supposed to come today. I'm very excited. It's a carry-on bag, a carry-on luggage. Literally, I have 0 trips planned, but I had this whole process around making do and essentially having low quality versions of things. And I was like, I want high quality versions of things. And one sort of pain point for me has been my carry-on luggage, because it only has the 2 wheels instead of the 4. And it's always tipping over and it's really annoying. So I was like, girl, you deserve nice luggage. So I have 0 trips planned, but I did this process. I literally just Googled carry-on luggage, picked one that looked cool, put it in my cart. And I was had this moment of are you actually gonna buy yourself something nice? And that is what that's when I kicked off the process. Did a bunch of sobbing, ordered it, and it's coming today. Which is to say, I did one yesterday that was all about seeing Hozier, my favorite new white Jesus. Hozier is my Irish He is my Irish Thomas Hubel white Jesus. I'm just gonna keep adding them all together. Like every tall white man with brown hair who looks like Jesus, they're just gonna become just one entity in my mind. He's got this song called All Things End. It's literally my favorite actual song, and I listen to it basically every single day, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And all things end. I love it. I love it. And then I feel like, I discovered this song. I'm literally just like looking for it on my Spotify. All Things End. And I discovered the song, and I love it. And I love Hozier. And he's gonna be literally on tour in my basically city in a week from now. And I really would love to go, but it's sold out. And the resale tickets are like $300. And I'm like, you cannot justify spending $300 to see Hozier just so you can hear him sing like one particular line of one particular song that you love so fucking much. But I want to. And so I had a whole part where I was like, but I want to though. The other part's like, I know, but like, you saw how stressed you were about all your credit card debt. Why would you get more credit card debt? I'm like, I want to go. Money's made up. It's made up. I'll get more money. Oh, give me the money. And it was powerful. And it was powerful. And now instead of having like these two warring sides, one side that's saying, do what you want, have fun, and the other side that's saying, no, be responsible. You're a bad person if you spend money. Now they're like holding hands and they're like, yes, we want to have a good time and we want to not be stressed. And it's okay to make choices from a place of abundance, not lack, because Hozier will go on tour again and you never know how it will happen that someone, maybe you know Hozier. Maybe you have tickets to Hozier and you DM me like, hey girl, I know you love Hozier. Here's a spare ticket. And I'm like, see, God does it again. All right, that's the video. I hope it's helpful. Let me know in the comments if you try it, if you have a manifestation technique that really, really works for you. I have to say, I feel like I've shared a bunch on this channel and I'm continuing to see the effects. Like the one I shared a while ago about like listening to the audio of you expressing the thing that you have in this really excited way. Literally, I'm still reaping the benefits of that. And the thing about like the Broadway shows, I don't need to travel to New York to see the Broadway show. That's literally right here where I am in Maryland. And that was one of the things I talked about was like not needing to travel to have fun and go to places. It's all right here on my doorstep. So all of these techniques are all just different tools in your toolkit to use as you want, to use as it feels right to you. Let me know if it resonates. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing and for the support and thinking I have great hair, because I do. I love this hair so much. I feel like a new, great, same, evolved, upgraded person. Yay, box braids. Okay.